In today's video, we are going to compare two guys that in all likelihood will be the gatekeepers of the Mr. Olympia top 6. If you want to get into that top 6 or maybe even higher, you'll probably have to go through both of these guys. Today we'll be comparing Hunter Labrada versus Michal Krizo. For Krizo, we will be using the 2023 M Pro Classic version, and for Hunter, we will be using the 2023 Tampa Pro version, his best version this year so far. I think we have a close comparison today, and these guys will probably be very close together at the Olympia. If you guys like these videos, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe. Starting with the front double, there are actually two Krizos on screen because I want to make a point about Krizo's conditioning and these contest photos. The right-hand side photo is from the official folder of content photos from the NPC News Online. You can tell he looks good, he looks pretty sharp, but then take a look at the leftmost photo of Krizo. This was literally a screenshot taken from a video that was shot on an iPhone from someone in the audience. And in that photo, you can really see how conditioned Krizo was here. So I will use both screenshots from that video and the official photos throughout this comparison. But this is not just a disclaimer, this is also for you guys to keep in mind that despite what it looks like, Krizo was in very good condition. He had a gnarly Christmas tree, diced hams and glutes, and thin skin throughout his entire physique. I'm getting ahead of myself though, but just keep in mind that Krizo was very peeled here. Anyway, let's get into the actual front double pose. I think this is a very clear win for Krizo no matter which photo we're using. Krizo was up there for one of the best front double poses of this area, and that's because of a few things. The amount of size he carries everywhere, not just the arms, but yeah, the arms too are a main factor in this. Those are at least the top two best arms on the Olympia stage, probably next to Nick Walker. So there's the size and the arms, but the final thing is the shape. Yes, his waist isn't the smallest. In fact, it's actually pretty wide. It's like I said earlier though, he's carrying so much size, so much that he can outflank his waist by using that size to create a better illusion. His lats are full, and his legs have okay sweep to them, and his arms and calves are surprisingly a big part of this. If you can really fill out those areas like Krizo is doing, when people look at your physique, they will view your waist as being smaller. So, Krizo has the shape, Krizo has the arms, and Krizo just has a lot of fucking size. As for Hunter, this pose is just kind of meh for him. Honestly, he does have some very big arms too, although I can't understand why he keeps the angle between his forearms and upper arms so wide. He should really just close his arms a bit more, and I think it would make this pose look a little bit better, at least to me. But the big derailment with Hunter is of course that midsection. Credit where it's due, he has fixed it a lot from last year, but it's just still not the best. Krizo, who has a much thicker waist, is beating Hunter here because his stomach is slightly sunken in and he has more control over it. And to wrap this pose up, we can see Krizo is beating Hunter in a lot of other areas. The arms most importantly, and even the lat taper. Now I would say Hunter's legs are better. Hunter definitely has some really good legs actually, but Krizo's are still big and separated. Hunter just has more of those qualities. But that just can't make up for how much Krizo is winning in the midsection, the arms, and creating that perfect silhouette that we look for in this pose. So overall, I think we can agree Krizo easily wins this shot. Unfortunately for Krizo, all of his advantages crumble when taking a look at the front lat spread. His great arms are downplayed in this shot, and the thickness of the waist quickly hides his lat taper. The illusion he was able to create in the front double is now completely gone. He can hide his big waist here, but really that's the only problem I have with him. Especially considering when you go to Hunter and you basically get a similar story. Hunter has okay lat taper, like Krizo, and Hunter's pecs and shoulders are nice and full, like Krizo. Now I do think Hunter has more detail and the legs are better than Krizo's. Hunter also has the same main weakness of the shot, being the midsection. Hunter's midsection is just naturally wide, we saw that in the front double, but I do think it looks a bit better here. Ultimately, I think it's a bit tighter and more detailed and overall better than Krizo's, and since everything else is kind of similar in the shot, I'm going to give Hunter the narrow edge because he's creating a better silhouette. Krizo could win this shot, I wouldn't be too upset with that at all, but Hunter is bringing a slightly more streamlined and polished pose. Krizo trades off with Hunter yet again going into the side chest shot. Hunter is very good in this pose. Krizo is just better. The only thing I think Hunter beats Krizo in is the side leg. Hunter actually has glutes and more separation between glutes, hams, and quads. And his side leg in terms of size is measuring up quite well against the much taller and bigger Krizo. But other than that, Krizo wins everything. Krizo's arms and delt is much fuller and just bigger in general. That should come as no surprise. And then Krizo easily wins in the pecs as well. For starters, Hunter's pecs are kind of flat, so really he's going to fight an uphill battle here, but Krizo has just an amazing chest, so Hunter never really stood a chance. Krizo wins in every category, size, fullness, and even detail. And really, Krizo just showcases more overall thickness from the side, which combined with the pecs are the most important elements in this pose. Hunter may win the side leg, but Krizo is just too overwhelming upstairs and too thick from the side. Now for the back double, Krizo is dominating the shot. He is miles ahead of Hunter. Starting from the bottom and working our way up, Krizo is actually doing a nice job of fending off Hunter in the lower body, which in some poses he has struggled to do. In the hamstrings, I think I may prefer Krizo slightly more, surprisingly. I think if the resolution were a bit higher on Krizo's picture, we'd really see the details in those hamstrings in the shot, and if you look closely, you can kind of already see it. His hamstrings have a lot of detail, and I prefer the shape of his hamstrings with the piano wire look over Hunter's, albeit thicker hamstrings, but less detailed hams. That detail that Krizo has in the hams also carries over to the glutes. He's very diced there, but he has no ass. So Hunter soundly takes the glutes, but really overall, I just prefer Krizo. I could see an argument for Hunter winning the lower body. He's definitely more complete there, but really it's pretty close. And then finally, going up to the back, Krizo really beefed his back up from the 2022 Olympia. Hunter has improved his too, but the problems still exist. His lower back and lats are practically non-existent. They're very, very shallow. No detail, no real thickness there. His upper back is detailed and fairly wide, but this is just a very meh back. Krizo is also very wide, but he packs so much detail from top to bottom in his back, even his arms and shoulders are dwarfing Hunter's. I don't really think I need to explain this any further. We all know who wins this pose. In the second back pose, Hunter is a lot better. He makes up some ground while Krizo kind of falters. Krizo's lower body is still just a little bit behind Hunter's, if you ask me. Still respectable nonetheless. But it's his back that does him in on this shot, surprisingly. Krizo's back was so dominating in the first pose, but it doesn't translate to the rear lat spread. His back still looks thick and his traps are really thick, but he just doesn't have a whole lot of width. Any width he does have, he can thank his big structure for, not necessarily his actual lats. I don't think Hunter is blowing anyone away in the shot, but he has stepped up his game in this pose and looks a lot better than he did last year. For one, he has more width than Krizo, and with that, more taper. He still needs some more thickness in this shot, just like he did in the rear double. More meat on that back would help him in both poses. Really though, I just think he needed that extra width to win this pose. So with the slightly better lower body and more width, I'm going to give this pose to Hunter. To be honest though, I really do like Krizo in the shot. Maybe I can see it going for him, but right now, I'm giving it to Hunter. In the side tricep, surprisingly, Krizo is looking a little lackluster despite those crazy arms. Krizo's not bad, I do just think this is a very strong pose for Hunter. It always has been. Krizo has a good side leg in this pose and his hamstring drop is wild, but again, he has no ass. Hunter doesn't have that exaggerated hamstring drop, but his side leg is better than Krizo's because it's more balanced. He has glutes, good quad sweep, and a respectable amount of hamstrings. More importantly though, he has that conditioning in the lower body. The midsection is also Hunter's. Both of these guys don't have very good midsections, both of their abs are flawed in different ways, and neither of them have the tightest waists. I think here though, from this side angle, Hunter is able to make his more streamlined. Appear more streamlined than Krizo's. Krizo's definitely sporting quite a chunky waist here. It's not distended, it's not a bubble gut. His structure is just a bit thicker than Hunter's here. The abs themselves are just about even for both of these guys, but again, Hunter's waist is smaller, so it's making his abs look slightly better in my opinion. Going up, the pecs are just about even, and for the delt, it's about the same story. But the main deciding factor for this pose was the tricep. Krizo's tricep surprisingly just doesn't look that beefy nor defined. Hunter's tricep has a little bit more size and is more clearly defined. Overall, Hunter has the most polish in this pose and his tricep is superior. Like I said, this pose has always been good for him. His execution is top notch too. Many guys do the regular side chest stance where they have one foot directly beside the other. Hunter does that Dorian Yates stance with his legs staggered, and I really like that variation, especially when you have a good side leg to highlight and of course a great tricep to sport like Hunter does. Moving to the abs and thighs, neither gentleman really has a good pose. Krizo's waist is too big for the shot and his abs are very shallow. And then also with that big waist on display, his lower body is kind of getting overshadowed. His quad sweeps aren't bad, but I do want to see a little more as he continues his career, and this is just mainly so he can make his waist look smaller. Again, if he makes his quad sweeps bigger, that waist is going to come down, at least the illusion of that. The legs themselves are not really the problem though, it's the thicker waist, and some more quads would help create that illusion. But unfortunately now you can just see that he has zero taper in the upper body and a very poor X-frame because of that in this shot. Shifting your gaze over to Hunter, we see some good things and some bad things. The good things include much better quads than Krizo's. Hunter's bringing some gnarly conditioning along with some deep striations in those quads and has better sweep than Krizo. The other pros of Hunter's physique are his smaller waist. It's at least smaller than Krizo's. And that of course creates a better taper for Hunter. Now although the waist is smaller for Hunter, the abs aren't stellar. He still has some lower stomach distension and overall his abs just aren't the most aesthetically pleasing. But I do think they're better than Krizo's shallow 4-pack. So Hunter wins the abs category of this pose and easily picks up the thighs portion of the pose easily with those crazy legs. This pose goes to Hunter. And finally, the last shot of the evening, we've got some good poses from both gentlemen. Hunter really is respectable here, surprisingly. I think this shot for him is really underrated. The only thing he's really missing is some striation in the pecs and maybe a little bit in the delts. The midsection again leaves a little to be desired, but hey, it's not a bubble gut. Other than those things, Hunter is bringing good qualities for a most muscular pose, namely the muscle. His legs look huge here as well, crazy deep cuts, and the mass on those wheels is superb. The chest, despite tearing one of his pecs, has some good thickness, and his arms and delts are bringing the size too. I think this is one of the better most muscular shots at the Olympia level, with all that said. But Krizo, man, I'm not saying this lightly, he does have one of the best most muscular shots in the world right now. I think he's only contending with Nick Walker for that title, but Hunter is not in that discussion. He's good, just not at that level. So this shot is just lights out for Krizo. Krizo has all that size I was commending Hunter for, but he has more of the pop, detail, and just the overall wow factor. Hunter is full too, don't get me wrong, but Krizo just comes alive in this pose. He has that 3D look with more striations, vascularity, and of course, muscularity. Krizo is winning this shot handedly. He does everything that Hunter does, more in some instances, and has less flaws. He has maybe the best most muscular shot in the world, and what can I say? That speaks for itself. Well, if you guys have been keeping track of who won each pose, you'll know that we have a tie. Both competitors won 4 poses each. Krizo won the front double, side chest, rear double, and most muscular. Hunter ended with the front lat, rear lat, side tricep, and abs and thighs. What I found the most interesting in this comparison is how they traded off winning different poses. A lot of the times when someone is winning a particular shot, a side or front shot for example, they tend to win the other side or front shot. It just makes sense. If you win the back lat spread, you have great odds to also be winning the back double, because those qualities that win these poses tend to be very similar. This is why competitors that win a side shot end up usually winning both the side chest and the side tricep. You need to be thick from the side to win both side shots, so a lot of the time the same competitor wins both. In this comparison, the opposite happened. Krizo won the front double, but didn't win the front lat. Krizo won the side chest, but didn't win the side tri. Hunter won the back lat, but didn't win the back double. What does this tell us? Well, one, this comparison was super close when going pose by pose. I think that's a given. But it also tells us that both of these guys have some major flaws. And for each guy, those flaws got in the way more of one pose than another, which resulted in the trading off that we saw throughout this comparison. And I think that's a fair statement. Both guys do have pretty apparent flaws. I'm not saying these guys aren't worthy of the top 6 or that you can only see their flaws when you look at them. I'm just saying that compared to the top 3 to 5 guys in the world, Hunter and Krizo are just less gifted competitors and are going to have flaws that are more noticeable. For example, Hunter's back is still needing a lot of work. Krizo needs better abs and an ass. And both of these guys leave a little to be desired when it comes down to their midsections. Now when it comes down to overlooking each gentleman's flaws, I think it's easier to forgive Krizo. Krizo has some flaws, sure, but he makes up for that with some great, and I really do mean great, elements. Fantastic arms, his back double's a lot more solid, he's tall, which is always a plus, and he can get conditioned and stay full and round at the same time. He has flaws, yes, but he can make up with those solid strengths. Hunter, on the other hand, doesn't really stand out to me. Sure, he also has strengths too, but he doesn't necessarily have that type of wow factor. He's very complete, and maybe that's why he just doesn't stick out to me, I'm not sure. What I do know is that I preferred Krizo in this comparison. Flawed, yes, both guys were, but Krizo made up his deficit with more highlights throughout his physique. Now I do think this will be very close when it comes time for the Olympia. I think that Krizo can not only beat Hunter, but place top 6. And I firmly believe that. This may be a coin toss for some, and that still may be the case on show day. But for my money, I think Krizo won this comparison. This will definitely be interesting when it comes time for these guys to step on that Olympia stage. With this being so close, make sure you guys leave a comment with your thoughts. Although I'm sure I don't need to tell you that, you guys are probably already on it. Let me know if you agree, where you agree, or maybe you think I'm blind and wrong. Whatever you think, leave me a comment. I'd definitely like to know how you guys saw this one. Be sure to like this video as well, and of course subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these types of videos. Definitely expect more of these in the next few weeks because we are in crunch time heading for the Olympia with just 4 weeks left to go. With all of that said, that's going to do it for me in this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.